In ancient times, a land lay covered in forests where from ages long past dwelt the spirit of the gods. But as time passed, most of the great forests were destroyed. Those that remained were guarded by gigantic beasts who owed their allegiance to the ancient forest spirits, for those were the days of gods and demons. We then see Prince Ashitaka galloping his way out of the forest and into his village, where he's met by three young villagers. He tells them to hurry back because the wise woman wants everybody in the village at once, and the girl tells him that they've seen something in the forest and that all the animals and birds were gone. After telling the girls to hurry back, Ashitaka heads to the watchtower where he meets Jason and asks him if he had seen what he had, to which Jason confirms. As they watch a demon in the shape of a giant boar break through the stone wall and head straight toward them, it collapses the watchtower, causing the two to fall. Ashitaka sees the demon head toward the village and follows it to stop it. He shoots the demon in the eye, trying to save the villagers out in the field, which really angers it. He then shoots another arrow that hits the demon right between its eyes, but before it dies, the demon touches Ashitaka and curses him. The village's wise woman treats Ashitaka's arm and bandages it, and she then performs a ritual that reveals to her that the boar god had come from the far west, but had been poisoned by great hatred that turned him into a monster. She tells the prince that the infection would spread throughout his body, causing him great pain and finally killing him. She then shows him a black stone and tells him that it was what caused the boar to change into a demon. A terrible evil had risen in the west, and it was Ashitaka's fate to go there and face it, perhaps finding a way to lift his curse. The villagers are very sad by the news, as they are the last of their tribe after the emperor had driven them off from their land and Ashitaka was their last prince. Ashitaka is forced to cut his hair and heads west to follow his destiny, and after traveling a long distance, he reaches a village that was under attack by rebels who were massacring the community. Seeing a villager in danger, he shoots his arrow with incredible strength that he'd never used before and cuts off the man's arm, causing incredible pain to shoot up his hand. After escaping, Ashitaka realizes that the mark was getting bigger every time he uses the superhuman strength that he gets from it. In a nearby town, he befriends an opportunistic old man called Jigo, and that night, the two camp out while the old man makes their supper. The old man tells him that there's a place high in the mountains far to the west where the spirits of the forest dwells. The place was too dangerous for humans to enter, as there are giants that protect it. He tells him that perhaps there he'll find whatever it is that he's looking for. Nearby, men on a cliffside herd oxen to their home of Irontown, led by Lady Eboshi, and repel an attack by a wolf pack led by the wolf goddess Moro, whom Eboshi wounds with a gunshot. Ashitaka meets San, a human girl who rides the giant wolves, as she tries and takes care of her wounded wolf. He tries to speak to her, but she tells him to leave and gallops away on one of her wolves. Ashitaka then managed to rescue two men that had fallen from the cliff and transports them back to the forest, where he briefly gets a glimpse of the great forest spirits. He and the survivors arrive at Irontown, where they're greeted by the excited townspeople who would assume the men were dead. Ashitaka finds out that Irontown is a refuge for outcasts and lepers employed to process iron and create firearms. The town was built by cutting forests to mine iron, leading to conflicts with Asano, a local daimyo, and a giant boar god who had attacked Ashitaka's village. After having dinner with the village people, Ashitaka is called to Eboshi's quarters and is asked why he was there. He reveals his arm and explains how the boar god had cursed him just before he killed it, and Eboshi takes him to a room where her people are working day and night to design a new type of rifle, explaining that the new guns would be able to kill any monster that would ever try to attack them again. Ashitaka is angered by what she said, because he knows that the angered gods that were destroying villages were her fault. Eboshi asks him to stay in Irontown and help her kill the forest spirit, and she also reveals that San, also known as Princess Mononoke, who was raised by the wolves and hates humankind, was plotting to kill her. She tells him that it's said that the blood of the forest spirit could heal any wound, and perhaps it would be able to heal him as well. The next night, San infiltrates Irontown to kill Eboshi. After eluding the guards, San comes face to face with Eboshi, and they begin to fight while Eboshi's guards encircle them. Ashitaka intervenes and quickly subdues the woman while they were locked in combat, and he tells Eboshi that he would take responsibility for San. Eboshi tries to stab Ashitaka, but before she could, he hits her in the stomach, stunning her unconscious. Ashitaka announces that he's taking the wolf princess with him, but before he could leave the town, he's accidentally shot by one of the villagers. The power of the curse gives him enough strength to keep walking, and he heads out of town, where he finds the wolves waiting for their princess. San awakens while they were riding Ashitaka's pet elk, but realizes that he'd been badly hurt and becomes unconscious. San takes him to the place where the first spirit could find him, where if he was deemed worthy, he'd be healed. The next morning, Ashitaka awakens and sees his wound had been completely healed. San comes to check on him in the morning, bringing him some food to help him regain his strength, and after leaving him to rest, San and her wolf mother Moro encounter a boar clan led by the blind god Okoto. He goes on to tell them his plan of attacking Irontown and saving the forest. The sight of the humans angers Okoto, and he threatens to kill them after accusing them of killing Nago, the other boar god. Ashitaka comes clean and explains that he was the one who killed him after he'd been transformed into a demon and attacked his village. He then shows his arm as proof, and Okoto believes him, but warns him to never come back to the forest because if he does, he's gonna be forced to kill him. Moro warns Okoto that going up against the humans would be a difficult mission as they've developed modern weapons. But the boar god is adamant about going through with his plan, even if it means certain death. Returning from battle with the Asano soldiers, Ebishi meets Jaigo on the road, who informs her that the emperor had been breathing down his neck about bringing him the head of the forest spirit so he could have immortality. He then goes on to tell her that she needs to keep her promise by delivering the head of the forest spirit. Deep in the woods, Ashitaka awakens from sleep and heads out of the cave for some fresh air. Moro, who was lounging on top of the caves, tells him that the boars have already headed out to battle. She explains that soon there will be nothing left of the forest, which will cause all the animals to die out. Ashitaka pleads with her to let San leave so she can have a normal human life, but Moro refuses. She orders him to leave their land and threatens his life if he ever comes back. The next day, San leaves Ashitaka while he sleeps to join the boar tribe in their battle against Irontown. Hearing the battle, Ashitaka heads to town to see if he could find help. He finds out from the women there that while Ebishi went into the forest to acquire the forest spirit's head, the town had fallen under attack from Asano's men, and they assure him that they will be able to manage and tell him to go inside the forest and find their leader. Ashitaka is chased away by some of the Asano men, but manages to kill them, all the while the mark on his hand grows throughout his arm. He then heads back to the forest only to find the boars had all been massacred. He meets the survivor of Eboshi's men, who tell him that they'd been attacked by the animals that night, and San, along with the wolves, was also with them. Ashitaka finds one of the wolves trapped under a dead boar and gets it out. Grateful for the help, the wolf agrees to help Ashitaka find Ebishi. Deep in the forest, San and a badly hurt Okoto are heading to the forest spirit to have him heal the boar king. Jaigo and his men follow them at a distance so they can lead them right to the spirit. San sees the hunters masking themselves under the boar's skin so that Okoto can't sense them. Believing his warriors had returned to him, Okoto hurries to the forest spirit's realm even though San kept telling him that it was a trap. San tries to stop Okoto but is swept up as his pain corrupts him into a demon. Ashitaka finally makes it to Ebishi and informs her that the town was under attack. She assumes that he's lying to her and asks for proof, and he assures her that he had no reason to lie and runs away. Ebishi is sure that the women would be able to take care of themselves and decides to continue her search for the forest spirits. Ashitaka finds Moro fallen by the pool that leads to the forest spirit well. He calls out to San and sees her trapped by the now demonic Okoto, and he tries to save her but is flung away by the boar, hitting his head and sinking to the bottom of the pool. Although Moro was conserving the last of her strength to kill Ebishi, she realizes that she may save her daughter from the demon and attacks Okoto. Jaigo and Ebishi, as well as her men, had finally made it to the pool leading to the spirit realm and find the forest spirit. As everyone clashes at the pool of the forest spirit, Ashitaka swims out and saves San, while the forest spirit puts Moro and Okoto to rest. As it begins to transform into the Nightwalker, Ebishi shoots and decapitates the forest spirit, and a slimy liquid explodes out of the spirit's body and covers the entire area. Ebishi hurries to the fallen head and tosses it to Jaigo, just as Moro's decapitated head bites Ebishi's arm off. Jaigo steals the head, while the forest spirit's blood oozes out and spreads all over the land and kills everything that it touches. Although badly hurt, Ebishi survives and falls into the pool but is saved by Ashitaka. After the death of the forest spirit, the forest, including the small spirits, start to die as well. Enraged, San attempts to kill Ebishi again but is stopped by Ashitaka, who consoles her and encourages her not to give up. The ooze that seeped out of the forest spirit starts to form into a giant being and starts looking for its own head. It seems it's missing a body part deep in the forest, being taken away by Jaigo and his men, reaching out with its globby hands to retrieve it. And while attempting to do so, the giant makes his way to Irontown. Ashitaka and San hurry toward the town and warn the people to evacuate, explaining that one touch from the oozing giant would kill them, and he informs them to head to the lake, thinking that the water might slow it down. After Iron Town was evacuated, Ashitaka and San pursue Jaigo in an attempt to retrieve the head. When they finally catch up to him, Ashitaka asks Jaigo to return the head, which he wasn't inclined to do. Jaigo then attacks Ashitaka in an attempt to have his men run away with the head, but Ashitaka manages to subdue Jaigo and gets back the head. He and San offer the head back to the spirit in hopes that it would be at peace. Once the head was returned, the spirit dies, but its form washes over the land, healing it and lifting Ashitaka's curse. Ashitaka and San awaken and see the land had been covered in green pastries, and before leaving, San tells Ashitaka that he means a lot to her, but that she cannot forgive the humans for what they did. Ashitaka tells San that he must return to Iron Town to help them rebuild, but promises to come visit her soon. Grateful to Ashitaka and San, Ebishi vows to build a better town, and the forest begins to regrow as a single Kadma emerges from the bushes. And this is how the movie comes to an end.